Hi, everybody. This is Barbara Mayerson from joyandsuccess.com. And I am here with a fabulous doctor who's not your regular typical MD, but she's a lot of fun. And her name is Beth Westie. And I went to her, well, I worked with her a few years ago. And she's very different than a lot of other doctors. So welcome, Beth. It's great to have you here.
Yay! Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Oh, good. Me too. I want you to just introduce what you do and how you got involved with it. And I know it wasn't your typical going to college going to med school. In fact, you didn't go to med school, I don't think. But at 22.
Right. No. Yeah.
So explain how you got started and why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I am a chiropractor by training. I was an athlete growing up. You can't tell because I'm on a little screen, but I am really tall. I'm 6'2".
Wow.
I'm huge. I played volleyball in college, and then I wanted to be a pediatrician, but I started going down the path of like more natural health care, things like that. I got a passion for chiropractic, so I went to chiropractic school. So I'm a chiropractor by training. While I was in school, I had my first 2 kids. And then I graduated, bought a business, and then a month later found out I was pregnant again. And my youngest, she was actually born 2 months early. So I had a preemie, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and then a business that was less than a year old that I was working, 70 hours a weekend. So lots of stress, lots of sleepless nights for the tiny humans that I had around. And I started getting ovarian cysts. And that was a really big struggle for me. I would have a cyst every single month and it would burst and it would be so painful. It would put me on the floor. And none of the things that I was doing were helping. And that's where my biggest frustration came in. I couldn't understand why I was eating really, really healthy, super clean. I was taking a bunch of healthy supplements, right? All this stuff. I mean, I was under a lot of stress and I wasn't sleeping very well, and I was like, I can't do anything about that, right? It is what it is. And it was after a year and a half of having a cyst every single month, my husband dragged me to the doctor. He had to help me in the car because I couldn't get in the car. I was in so much pain, brought me to the ER, and the doc there, his solution was birth control and Vicodin. So I was just supposed to be on Vicodin all day, every day for my life. No, thank you. That was not right. What? Oh, so I got really frustrated. Like a lot of women have this very similar experience. And I said, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Right. And I also have a background in Eastern medicine, and I'm trained in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And so I started diving into that background, and I realized that as I was looking through things and covering things in women's health and everything and Ayurveda, is that the way we treat women's health here in Western medicine is very different than the way Eastern medicine does it. And I started incorporating some of those things, right? Eating for my hormones and cycle, aligning with what my body needed, because we go through 4 different bodies throughout the month. Right? Your hormones shift and change so much each week that it's 4 different bodies throughout the month. So I just started eating for that, working out for that, supplementing for that. And I was able to, it didn't happen overnight. It took a couple of months, but I stopped having cysts.
Wow.
And it's been 8.5 years.
Wow.
And I still eat that way. I still take care of my body. And, and I've not had a cyst since. And so this is what I do. This is what I teach. And it's because, and the more I do it, the more I get into it, the more stories I hear from women that are very, very similar, right? Some type of health issue, problem thing. And they're like, this isn't working for me. So, so that's, I got into it because I got really mad that there wasn't what I was looking for out there, working with your body and hormones.
For you. And I think a lot of women, probably people in general, but I know you work with women, get very, very frustrated because they don't know how to handle their bodies. And they go to the regular doctors and they give them a pill or give them this and that, and it still doesn't work. Yeah. And you have a completely different, and you also, I know you talk a lot about like watching your videos, and when I worked with you a few years ago, that what's out there is for men, and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of um, studies out there or programming for women. And you
Yeah.
were strictly, sorry guys, but she's a woman. She helps women, but maybe you help your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, your children, your daughters. But you are strictly focusing on women, and
Yeah.
it's very different than men's treatment. How is it different than men's treatment?
Yes. Yeah. Excellent question. So yeah, what's funny is that in the programs and stuff that I have, I just, oh, thank you for everything. And I've lost, over 8 pounds, and I'm really excited because I was totally stuck. And she goes, but I got to tell you, my husband lost over 18 pounds just eating what I ate. Come on. Right. And that's
Not fair.
not fair. It's not fair, but it's because the physiology, our basic physiology is so different. Men's bodies can build muscle and burn fat like that. That's how they're designed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And female bodies, we have a harder time building lean muscle. It takes longer. It takes more nutrient then, and our recovery rate is also different, right? And our bodies are actually designed to store fat.
Mm-hmm.
Any stressors or other things will kick us into fat storage that much faster. That doesn't happen for the male body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between men and women, I mean, just doing the basic stuff of, oh, eat less, exercise more. Male body, oh, it's beautiful. So simple, right? Of course, because their bodies build muscle and burn fat so easy. But the female body, that's going to deplete our systems more, stress us out more, wreck our cortisol levels, our energy levels, disrupt sleep. It can create other systemic issues, gut health, all these other things, mess up our hormones even more. And then, of course, the result of that is that it causes our system to store more fat.
Yeah. Yeah. And we get more frustrated and more upset. And it's interesting when you're talking about sleep. I mean, I know I don't sleep the best in the world. And when I talk to other women, they don't either, but the men in their lives do. They sleep the whole night, and the women are up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. And I think to be able to stick to a program, and I know we can talk about you've got a 12-week program. We can talk about that a little bit, but to stick to a program, we don't want to do that. We want it like the husband losing 18 pounds in 5 minutes, and where's eight. But we were also talking about like the different stages of life, and
Yes.
it's at my age and at everybody's ages is different, and we want to think that we're still 20 years old. And how can we maneuver as we get older and changing the way we eat and exercise and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is such an important topic, I feel like, for women to realize overall. As we look at nutrition recommendations, all these other things, they're set up for the male body, right? And women are not just a smaller version of men. You take anything, you take any serving, right? Oh, this is a serving for a man, and then just make it less. There you go. That's for a woman. Come
Right.
on, right? And the history of all of this, and then the life cycle of it for us is, again, really set up for the male body. So it starts from birth, right? There's certain recommendations for nutrients every day from birth, right? If it doesn't matter boy or girl, they say babies and toddlers and everything, you need a certain amount of proteins and fats and carbs and nutrients, all these other things. Starting about age 7 or 8 is when it splits, and boys get more and girls get less. That's what they recommend. Boys need more proteins. Girls don't need as many proteins, right? And they just taper that, and they make that consistent, right? They keep that phase going, which is really interesting, because if you think about the development of the female body, girls actually go through puberty sooner than boys do. So wouldn't they need more nutrient for their body to make those changes, right? Why would it just be less, right? And that change, right, of less nutrient, less proteins and everything happens until girls hit the age of 14. And then the recommendations stop and stay the same. The growth of recommendations stops. It stays the same for the rest of your life. For boys, it increases still until they're 18.
Wow.
So the recommended proteins per day for women, 46 grams, is the same from age 14 for the rest of your life.
Unbelievable. Mm.
Right? Now think about when you were 14 versus when you were, 24 and 44, right? Like, and 64, your body, what it's doing, how it ages, different injuries or illnesses or, birth or, all this stuff that the female body goes through, it's so different. So to expect it to have this child size amount of nutrient it's not enough. And it's not tailored for what our systems really need and can function the best at, you know?
And we don't know it. And we have no
That's
idea.
where I get super frustrated with that.
Yeah, that we go through.
Yeah.
We go through the change.
Yes.
We think we still should be 20, doing the same thing we were doing at 20 years old, but we're not 20 years old anymore. And how do we
Yeah.
navigate it, and what to do, and like in getting older, and so many women, people are. I was watching a show on PBS, and a lot of music from 50s and 60s, and the women were heavy, and making peace with it. And I said, well, that's just the way it is. But I don't think that's supposed to be the way it is. I think you're supposed to know what to do to be slender, because being heavy is not healthy either.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's a lot of other health things that can go along with that. So what I find is that as the female body ages, and especially going through changes of like perimenopause, menopause, is that your body actually needs more protein to do what it did the same before. So say somebody goes through menopause at 50, right? That's an average, 50, 52 is an average age, right? But your body at 45, what you were doing at 45, protein amount, everything, that worked for 45. You can't do the same thing at 55. It's a different body. You need more protein to just keep it the same. And even going through that hormone change and the stress on the body, women gain on an average 7 to 10 pounds just going through menopause because of the stressful impact of that hormone change on our bodies.
Wow, wow. And I think, like, just like, I know when I went to you and you told me to eat more protein, I'm like, really? Protein and carbs. And it's like, really? So listening to everybody with keto and all kinds of weird diets out there, and you have such a different approach. And
Yeah.
it's, I can't say I was great about it, but I think because I've been so programmed for all the years of what you should and shouldn't be doing, and your approach is so different, that it's switching over to that is kind of like strange and different, but it's so needed. It's just so needed out there.
Yeah. Yes. And that's, to your point, that's honestly one of the hardest things that women have with eating in a different way and eating for your hormones and cycle is just that. We're programmed, we're almost brainwashed that we need to do it this certain way and anything else is wrong.
Yeah.
So that's the hard thing with it.
Yeah, my internet. Can you hear me? Why can't you? Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, that we're not only programmed
Yes.
to eat like a man the rest of our life, but we're programmed to eat like we were 25 years old, and have the same activity level and the same muscle level and the same all that kind of stuff. So no wonder we're frustrated and don't know what to do.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And that's to your point when you said, not just eating, but also activity wise, everything else. I mean, it really does change. Our bodies change so much. Our digestion changes over time. Everything changes over time. So if you're not changing how you're eating to keep up with that, it's going to be really frustrating, and you're going to feel like a failure. You're going to feel like there's something wrong with you, and there isn't. It's just that you're following a map for a body that you don't have,
And I know, we're giving out free gifts, and one of the gifts that you're giving us, which is wonderful, is a cookbook. And although I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure, like, it's all the different ways that the right recipes, and for different ages and different times in people's lives. Can you explain a little bit about your cookbook?
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So it's a recipes for your cycle and hormones cookbook, and it's designed to be used for women. You know, once they have a cycle, that type of a thing, and even beyond having a cycle. They're healthy recipes. They're family friendly. They're high protein, getting enough of that protein in. And there's breakfast, lunches, dinners, snacks, everything. So if you have an active cycle and you're like, okay, I'm gonna try and, you know, I'm on day 5 of my cycle. Okay, these are the recipes that are going to be best for you. You know, if you are in menopause, there's other recipes in there that you can really dive into that are going to be the right thing for you as well.
Yeah, and you talk about,
Yeah,
which is interesting, like you're still having cycles even if you're past menopause, and you're still having
there's
hormones,
a lot of things.
and we don't realize that.
Yeah, 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 your hormone levels can shift and change still. It's just in a small scale compared to before. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really fascinating. I know, like, I did my best, and I know, like, people can learn so much from you. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I have a website, which is just drbethwestie.com. And then I also am on Facebook and Instagram and at Dr. Beth Westie. And then I have a YouTube channel because I do a lot of videos on information and content. And that's what I find is really helpful. So my YouTube is just called Dr. Beth Westie. And that whole channel is about anything pertaining to women's health. Whether it be fibroids or infertility or hot flashes or, all these other things that women can do to really improve their overall health. And then, and I have a podcast too. The Female Health Solution is my podcast.
Yeah,
So another great way for people to tap into more info to help them.
I found you through YouTube, and watching all your videos, and you have such great videos up, and you're a lot of fun, aside from just, fun to watch. Um, so I think, you look like are you still there? I guess, yeah, I kind of lose the internet sometimes. So I think
Okay.
but you can hear me again?
I can hear you again. Yes.
Okay, good. Um, well, thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Beth. And,
Yeah.
I know she's a wealth of information and so different from anybody else. So again, women, you contact her. Men, you want to do it for your wives, you can have your wives play this, and get more information. So thank you again for being here, and Dr. Beth and everybody else out there.